Councillor Hill, I think you would ask for the item to be held.
I did, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I do have a number of procedural, process and definitional concerns with this motion. We have a process in place to review the implementation of the official plan into our new zoning bylaw. That process was agreed to by this council and allows for careful review by residents, stakeholders, and this council. 18 months ago, when I first joined the zoning bylaw working group, I specifically asked the question, what is the low-hanging fruit that we can fast track in order to address the housing crisis? Could we prioritize, for example, transects that are easier to manage, such as the rural areas, or could we prioritize zoning changes around the LRT routes for transit-oriented intensification? The response that I received at that time from staff was that the zoning bylaw process needed to progress as an omnibus through all of the stages of its development to include community engagement in order to ensure resident concerns were heard, that mitigations could be considered and addressed, and importantly, to reduce the city's downside exposure to legal risk given the planned upzoning of the city. This becomes an issue of trust between our residents and the city when they don't feel heard. And we've seen clear examples of this over the past year. For staff, could you confirm if group homes fit under the current definition of shelter as defined in this motion under ZBL 2008-250?
Mr. Mayor, no, group homes would not be classified under this definition of shelters. Group homes are supervised residential buildings, 3 to 10 beds, and they get some support, whereas the shelters are more for emergency accommodation, and there would be other services provided like healthcare, counseling, and so on, and food.
So to be clear then, to describe this motion as a mechanism to accelerate a Matthew House in a downtown ward would be inaccurate. If we're going to commit to implementing a successful new zoning bylaw that should apply to every aspect of the new bylaw, especially now that we're 3/4 of the way through that process, if there was downside legal risk to skipping public consultation 18 months ago, then with only a few months remaining in the process, then we should hold course, especially when the rationale behind this motion confuses the very definition of the structures that we're speaking to. I've had several group homes in my ward. They provide an excellent service at a reasonable cost per bed, but we don't need this motion in order to accomplish that type of outcome. I do look forward to a more robust debate on the potential unintended consequences of this motion once we have the actual zoning bylaw review at hand to review. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor.